In 2020, because of COVID-19, traveling is out, but there's no reason you can't meet old and make new friends at an Agile conference. The Scrum Master Toolbox podcast teamed up with Tom Henriksen to organize the 4th year of the Agile Online Summit, and you can attend for free. There will be networking events, lots of talks on important topics, and 8 amazing keynotes from Mary Poppendick to Alan Holub, Jeff Patton, who's the creator of user story mapping, Neil Killick, who's a no estimates pioneer, Jeff Watts, author of Scrum Mastery, a great book for Scrum Masters, Jeff Gotthelf, Bob Galen, and our very own Marcus Hammarberg, who's the author of the Bungsu Story, a great Agile transformation story. You can get your free tickets at bit.ly/SMAOS 2020. All lowercase, all one word. Once again, bit.ly/SMAOS 2020. All lowercase, all one word, and the link is also on the show notes. You can get your free ticket or opt for the full digital access that lets you keep all the conference videos forever. And for example, organize Agile learning sessions at work by watching those videos. You can get the full digital access at bit.ly/SMAOS 2020. But don't forget, there will be lots of live networking events, so I'll see you at the conference floor. Hello everybody, welcome to our Success Thursday this week with Pieter Verbaarschott. Hi Pieter, welcome back.
Hey Vasco.
So Pieter, on Thursdays we talk about success for Scrum Masters, but we always start with your favorite retrospective format. So tell us what that is and why.
Yeah, my favorite, well, let's just say I don't like games and things with stickies and drawings and whatnot. So my favorite retrospective format is actually just to have a normal discussion with the group and figure out what is problematic or what we could improve, so that is my favorite format. Of course, it depends a little bit on the team if that's the best format. I'm aware of that, but behind it is my let's say my conviction that if you have a team with sufficient psychological safety and they know each other well, then this is eventually the format that is most useful, right? So that's always what I hope to achieve, is that is the format that works well.
So one of the things that I'm curious though is you call it a normal conversation, right? But over time and over the years, you've learned how to facilitate that, because just saying, "Hey, let's have a chat," is not necessarily going to start the chat, right? So when you look at that format of just having a normal conversation, what are the things in your mind that you are, going to do or going to go through with the team as you have that normal conversation? How do you facilitate it?
Yeah, so on my first day as Scrum Master, of course, when I didn't know anything, if I were to facilitate the conversation, it would be like you would have me as a person facilitating the conversation. So there are no special tricks that I can bring to the table there, at least not then in the beginning, but maybe now I can. So what I hope to achieve with any conversation or game or anything in a retrospective is that we help the team to look at their own situation. Right. So one of the things that I do, because I know many teams need a little bit of help to start this self-observation, is to start each retrospective with a short round table against everyone and ask for one positive observation about the last sprint. Right. So if you do this every retro, people start to expect a question and they'll know they have to do some homework throughout the sprint by at least observing how the sprint was. So with that, I hope to instill a bit of self-observation in the sprint. And you can have everyone talk for a little bit in the first round. And if someone cannot give one single positive observation in the last sprint, then we have a serious problem, right? So it's also a good signal to see what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Perhaps one aspect of retrospectives that is not very much discussed, and what you just described kind of reminded me that, is that of the repetition, right? Because repetition can create familiarity and security, safety, right? If you always start the retrospective the same way, it might sound boring to some, but actually the team knows how it starts and they kind of enter the spirit, the psychology of the retrospective by going through that, let's call it ritual, right? Like asking, as you said, asking one positive observation from the last sprint.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly why I do this. Yep, exactly. Yeah, the repetition helps indeed. Of course, with teams where I was longer, this might go away, right? That's fine. It can evolve naturally, but yeah, with let's say with new teams, I try to at least do this part of the retrospective always. So that's a very small recurring format. Then, if I have a favorite format, the rest of the retrospective is. Yeah, so I feel I shouldn't be doing a lot because the team should be safe and free to speak normally. Of course, I know that should means not always that it is the case. So I'll try different games, and I'll sometimes even I'll say who in the team wants to organize the next retrospective, right? Give it a shot if you think it's fun. I'm not too invested in that retrospectives go exactly as planned or anything like that.
Absolutely. Well, if we start the retrospective in the same way and we have kind of a set of questions we go to, I think that's also a good way to kind of foster that conversation, right? So, for example, as a Scrum Master, I can prepare a set of observations and questions that I can raise once the conversation starts to die down, or it kind of gets into a never-ending loop, right? Like everybody's talking about the same thing and they kind of feel that they are just complaining. We can come in and ask, hey, how about the situation when, what did you think?
Yeah, exactly. So if, as a Scrum Master, I ask my team about at least one observation every retrospective, of course, that means that I'll have to have several observations myself. I'll always add my observations last if I really have something that I want to say. So, but once you start to share these observations, what you can do with them, I find that it very quickly follows normally into a free-form discussion, because once you share these observations, of course we do a round of positive observations, but people will sometimes say, can I add a negative one as well? And of course you can. It's not like we're holding too strict to the format. It's more of an opener than a format, right? But once the discussion gets going, I'm totally happy to let it happen.
So the questions and routine can help make a retrospective successful, which of course leads me to my next question, which is, how about us as Scrum Masters? What makes us successful? What is success for you in your role as a Scrum Master, Pieter?
I experienced a particular great moment of success when we had some comments from everyone in all the teams gathered on a sort of a public wall, let's say. And one of my team members, he offered that psychological safety is more than a buzzword in our team. And at that time, we had a really good, safe, well working team. And that was really a very proud moment, actually, that we experienced this as a team and that it was obviously noticed by the team members. I cannot say it was my doing, but it felt as a success as a Scrum Master, for sure.
Absolutely. And that's quite common for Scrum Masters, right? That a lot of things that we consider success, they are things that emerge from the behavior of the team. Of course, we have a say in that, and we have an influence to put on the table and to help the teams, but it's not just us, right? The team is also providing that feedback, that response to what we say, and and in this case, sharing their understanding of something that perhaps you were pushing for a while.
Yeah, there's a dynamic, right? Sometimes I feel as a Scrum Master that I want to reach things with the team, right? I have some ideas, I have my own things that I want to try, some tools or process. The trick is, of course, not to push too much my Scrum Master agenda on the team, but let the team speak, and I will be the servant leader that helps them along the way. But there's a balance, right? As a Scrum Master, I think for me it's sometimes difficult to hang back and let the team do all the driving, let's say.
Absolutely. For me, the important thing is to recognize that we are doing this together, right? As Scrum Masters, we're never successful alone, because there's no such thing as a successful Scrum Master alone, right? There's the team, there's the stakeholders, there's the product owner, of which we will talk more about tomorrow. So that for me is the key thing, is that success is found in that collaboration, that dynamic between all of those actors.
Absolutely. And I think it helps if you're aware indeed about everything around you, right? So it's not only your attention should not only be on the team, but also indeed stakeholders, the organization, your other Scrum Master colleagues. You can learn a lot by looking at other teams, for instance, right? So do not narrow the focus too much on only teams. Although for me, it's a fascinating matter that could fill all my attention easily.
Absolutely. And that's what Scrum Mastering is all about, right? Working with the teams. But as you said, one should be aware that the team's behavior is always exists in a context, like you mentioned also before, that the teams don't exist in a vacuum, right?
Sure. Right, so that means that as a Scrum Master, well, at least for me, let's speak for myself, that you can expect or achieve a lot with just talking and dealing with the people in the team, but it's mostly limited by the surroundings, right? So I am in the situation where I have like 20 other teams around my own team, so I can compare a little bit what the other teams are doing, and if there is not much, difference and variance in how the teams are doing, then I can see that it's mostly contextual how much success a team can achieve. So I can try to create maybe a few more story points every sprint with this team, but eventually it will reach a ceiling based on the environment that the team has.
Yeah, which then leads us to the idea that the environment is or all parts of the environment deserve our attention.
Exactly. So that's where then the attention needs to go. As in, instead of trying to, squeeze a few more story points out of all the teams, why not start to look at the process as a whole, right? What happens before items come to the team's backlog? Maybe there's a 2-month process from idea to backlog item. Maybe we should look at that part, which is outside of the team. And that brings a whole new, let's say, skill set or learning area and personal development for the Scrum Master in person to start to address these issues, right? It's more management territory than team lead territory, let's say.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that kind of highlights how complicated being a good Scrum Master can be. But thank you for that, Pieter. That's a very enlightening discussion.
All right, thank you, Vesco.
Part of a successful Scrum Master job is to help the product owner. Tomorrow we explore that critical role in Scrum, the product owner role. Tune in to learn about product owner anti-patterns, what you can do to help the product owner, and a real-life example of what a great product owner is and what made it so. Tomorrow on our Friday Product Owner episode. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.